I've been a quiet person, always reluctant to like speak my mind, specifically in social situations, but usually also in personal situations with my parents or like my friends. I like hide myself. So Wallflower is about the concept of me being this sort of person, being introverted, having social anxiety. You know, the album cover for Wallflower is a picture of me on a bridge maybe 22 years ago, and my dad took the photo, and it sort of symbolizes, I think, the birth of my anxiety. And it's the story of how, you know, that thread has been there until now. It's just really refreshing for me to be able to share it to the public and for it to be like for me to be totally open about it. It's an easy way for me to like put forth all these emotions without feeling like I'm burdening someone with it. I think that's a good thing about music for me, because I never want to sit down with someone and tell them about my problems. It's better to put it into an album. For me, my experience of London as a city, it's just this amazing cultural hub, and there's all these things happening, but also there's this element of, it creates a lot of stress. Everyone's trying to make it, you know, it's quite an expensive city to live in. You can clearly look at like my career as when I moved to London, my music started sounding like this, and that could be, you know, direct correlation to the mood of London has this effect on my music. It brought out like a side in my creativity where I was exploring parts of my mind I'd never even seen before. And that's where I discovered that I had these elements of like anxiety, you know, having to meet new people. And it's all just like Wallflower is all like a commentary on those experiences while living here. In the process of Wallflower, I've been much more open to external influence. For example, working with Jim this whole time on the album, and also the influence of the label, you know, directing me, is this the right decision? Can you go this direction? It's opened my mind, but I've also been much more receiving of external influence, and it's helped me in an amazing way. I feel like I've made a much better album. It's funny, it's sort of like ironic in a way, because Wallflower, the whole concept is about, I guess, being alone, dealing with being alone. But I've had people help me with it, so it hasn't been like a solo process. And that's been like really, really beneficial for the album, I think. I want to look back at my career and see that the thread of myself still remains in the music, but however, the music can go any direction. So that's why I'm really excited with Wallflower. It's a totally different sound from Cloak, I think. I think I explore new territories in terms of production, in terms of my lyrics, in terms of like songwriting, in terms of arrangement, instrumentation. It's a different world. And then, you know, I could come back to the reggae thing in 10 years. I mean, who knows? Like, I'm on a constant search for like new ways of making music. I think the sound of the album for me is groove-based moodiness. It's sort of how I describe it. You know, it's a bit different from Cloak, my last album, where, you know, there's elements of hip-hop, elements of jazz, and then like psychedelic, atmospheric stuff. It sort of goes more on that tip, like a bit of a darker experience, because we're talking about, I guess, darker content lyrically. So I feel like it lends itself better to that style of music. But that's the experience of the album, and now playing it live, because a lot of it's more live instrumentation. There's some elements of synths, which I've never really explored in my music before. And those synths are like a juxtaposition to like raw guitars and synths like that. I would have thought that never really works. But yeah, it works. You know, working with Jim, we'd sit there for hours at Old Paradise Audio. Jim McRae, my drummer, we worked on this together, and like producing the album, you know, we're sitting there thinking of how can we bring elements of instrumentation or production that can make it sound interesting while also telling a simple story. So it was really, really fun working on it, man. It flew by. Like, I'm surprised it's done already, and you know, it's nearly out to the world.